Next, we study about the scope of political science. The scope of political science refers to the subject matter or boundary or knowledge, what it gives to us. There are groups of writers who had different views on the scope of political science. The first group of writers were Garnell, Goodnow, and Blunschi. They restricted the scope of political science only to the study of state. As I said earlier, they had a very constricted view about political science. So they restricted the study of political science only to the study of state. The second group of writers like Stephen Leacock said that political science is with government only. The third group of writers like Paul Jennell and Professor Lasky maintained that the scope of political science extend to both state and government. There can be no state without government because state is the central subject of political science. The whole mechanism of government revolves around it. Okay, so there were three groups of writers. Okay, the first group of writers were Garner, Goodnow, and Blunsche, who restricted the scope of political science to the study of state. Now, there was a second group of writers like Stephen Leacock, who said that political science is with government only. Okay, and then we had the third group of writers. The third group was Paul Jennett and Professor Lasky. They maintained that scope of political science extended both to the state and government. There can be no state without a government because the state is the central subject of political science. So they said the state is the central subject of political science. The whole mechanism of government revolves around it. The state is the central subject and the whole mechanism of government revolves around it. The state plays an important role in the life of man and it becomes more important to know in all aspects. What the state has been, it involves the origin and evolution and historical survey in the past helps it to understand better. Okay. What the state has been, what the state is, and what the state should be. So these are the three. Okay, so what the state has been, it involves how it was. Okay, the historical view of it, the origin historical way. What the state is refers to the existing structure or the principles or practicing of the modern government. Next, what it should be covers the dream of an ideal state. Political science looks to future with the aim of improving political organization without changing without changing any of its ethical values. So this is all about the scope of political science. So in case we want to have a small revision about it, you can just revise everything by you can revise all this by having quick points. So for the introduction of political science, you can use this, wherein political science is in synonym. You can use a synonym with is in synonyms with political theory, political science, political theory, political philosophy, etc. Whereas the meanings can be different. So, what is political science? It represents the study of the state, and who is called as the father of political science? Aristotle is considered as father of this political science. He wrote he mentioned the term politics in his book called as politics, and the meaning of politics comes from Greek word polis. Polis means study of state. Okay, then we talk about the two types of the groups of the scope of political science. So the scope scope ideally means the limitations or the boundaries till where any subject can be drawn. That is what the scope means. So ideally it was three groups of writers who were there, and before that you can also mention what the definitions of two separate definitions of given by two types of definitions given by the philosophers. One is the modern definition and one is the traditional definition. You can mention that, and then you go to the scope of political science, wherein you talk about the three groups of writers, who were the three groups of writers, and what was their views. The first group constricted themselves, second view what did they say, and then third group what did they say. And then you can also at the end you can also write political science. This you can write down these points. The whole meaning revolves around 3 points: what the state has been, what it is, and what it ought to be, without changing the conditions. And the next point would be the importance of political science. The importance of political science. Why do you think political science is important? Political science is important because it helps you in understanding the state and government. These are the points: understanding the state and government, rights and duties, age of democracy, public administration, public affairs, international peace, and to understand about the constitution, and then political theories. Now, to explain this in brief, to mention about the knowledge of understanding the knowledge of state and government. So what is the why is political science important? Because it explores the origin, nature, and functions of the state and government, relationship between states and citizens, their rights and duties, and knowledge the right and knowledge of democracy, so that they have the right participation in the democracy. Next, we study about the rights and duties. It explains the rights and duties, the fundamental rights of the citizen, and the civil responsibilities each one of us need to take up. Next, we study about the age of democracy. So it analyzes the principle and practices the effectiveness, examines the role of citizens, the political parties and citizens, understanding the strength and weakness of the democratic system. Next, we study about public administration. Public administration, you can mention it studies public administration, implementation of public policies, management of government affairs, etc. And why is this knowledge important? To understand how the government performs, how the policies are made, and how public resources are managed. The next point would be public affairs. It helps us to examine the public affairs, political issues, and public opinions. Next, about the international peace. This explores international relationship, the interaction between nations, international organizations, and it also helps us to understand the global issues, the understanding of global challenges, etc. Next point would be to understand about the constitution. Now, if you have by the study of politics, you can understand the role of constituents in shaping up the system, and it helps us to safeguard the political rights. Next, political theories such as liberalism, socialism, conservationism. It helps you to understand all of that. This is the importance of political science. This is a brief note about it. So that's how you can finish.